Good morning and welcome. Welcome indeed to a Thursday edition of the Mark Moses Show as we are broadcasting always on the Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios hotline or webcam, whatever we want to call it exactly. Studio. Hey, that's how we roll here on the Mark Moses Show. Now, this guy has not been on with me in a couple weeks. We both took some, as the Europeans call it, holiday, but now we are both back. Tag team champions of the world to talk some sports and pop culture. Here's my good friend, Tim Walters, with the Florida Today newspaper. How you doing, buddy?
Good. I was encased in carbonite for 3 weeks, but luckily Luke, Leia, and the gang came and sprung me free. So I'm ready to go, Mark.
You really did the let's go to Disney World in the middle of July with the family, with 10 million other families. Is that what happened exactly?
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as it sounds, especially early in the week. We did a Monday through Thursday. We did all 4 parks, Epcot first, then Magic Kingdom Tuesday, Hollywood Studio. I'm sorry, actually it was Tuesday through Friday. I'm getting my days mixed up. So, yeah, we were on Hollywood Studios Thursday, which was my daughter's actual birthday, July 10th. And then we did Animal Kingdom Friday because that one's done. You can do that pretty quickly. And then we headed home. But it was great. We had a lot of fun. It's obviously expensive. If you have a couple of extra dollars in your pocket, definitely get the Lightning Lane passes. We were able to do all the good rides each day. And it was a blast. I love that Tron ride. I had not done it. The takeoff, if you had not done it, is probably the most intense takeoff of any ride at Disney, except maybe Mission Space at Epcot when you launch. And boy, that is something, the G-forces. A lot of people get sick on that ride. I've gotten used to that one over the years. But yeah, don't close your eyes. Everybody's got to know that. That liftoff is super intense, but if you close your eyes, you get more disoriented and you kind of want to throw up. So, my brother-in-law, he was Air Force and he did, a lot of pilot training and things like that. He told me that kind of like they tell you in Die Hard, make fists with your toes and breathe out. And it's a lot less intense because those are real G-forces that they're putting on you on that ride. So, but anyhow, there's a little bit of space, a little bit. I know, Mark, I'm just rambling at this point.
No, I don't understand. This is supposed to be fun entertainment and relaxing. Curl your toes, breathe so you don't pass out. What? That's so the Tron ride. It's intense then.
It's fantastic. The takeoff is you just start going really fast. So think about the test track. When you go outside and you're really speeding up super fast, think about that, but maybe even a little bit faster. But then the roller coaster itself is a lot of fun. But that takeoff, man, you accelerate like crazy. So we did that actually twice. If you stay at the resorts, you're allowed to get in a little bit early. They don't open the ride early. You just get a better place in line for when they open.
Thank you so much for that opportunity that you paid for.
So we waited maybe a half hour, got on the ride, but then around lunchtime, this massive storm hits, just absolutely raining, pouring, lightning, people running for cover. There was a bolt that sounded like it blew up half of the Magic Kingdom. But what we did was as the rain started to lighten up, I said to my daughter, I was like, you know what? Right now it's showing that the ride's only got a 30-minute wait. So we ran through the rain to get in line for Tron. We were on it in 25 minutes. So we got to do it twice. And those were easily the shortest wait times. But maybe the one ride that could have topped that Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster, now that is awesome. But we were only able to do that one once. The wait for that was generally 90 minutes and 2 hours. It was crazy.
You know my story. I didn't know it was a roller coaster, and I got on it. And I'm not really a fan of roller coasters. I literally, the minute when I walked onto the ride, they're like, well, put your valuables under here. And the minute the harness went down, I was like, oh, no, this is not good. And I told myself, and I don't usually talk in the third person inside inner thoughts, but it was one of those moments where I was like, Mark Moses, this is going to be 3 minutes of hell. Let's get through this together. And I know there's a different song that plays every time you go. So people are like, Mark, what song did you hear? I'm like, I didn't hear anything. I blacked out the whole thing. I did. And doesn't it start, if I can remember this, doesn't Guardians, you think you're going to go forward, but you go backwards at first? Isn't that it?
It is, yeah, much like the Everest ride in Animal Kingdom, which is actually another great roller coaster where you go backward, and that one's a lot of fun. Mark, I didn't always like that type of fast rides. My wife won't do them. Many years ago, before I had children, I went to Disney with my wife and my friend Rob, who also doesn't do those rides. They went off and got ice cream and beer while I'm doing roller coasters by myself, which was kind of. But my daughter loves them now. She just turned 11, and I think she's ready for Universal probably next year. She found some of the Disney rides a little too kiddish, obviously, but she loved some of the roller coaster rides. Rise of the Resistance, obviously, is another great one. We did that twice, Mark. We were able to get that one twice. And it was so much fun. So, it's probably the last time we're going to be doing the Disney experience like that for a while. I think I was around that age where I didn't really want to do it until I was about 17, 18 again. So, but I'll enjoy doing Universal because there's so many great new things there, and she hasn't been there. So I look forward to that experience.
Yeah, after what you probably spent, Tim Walters, it's probably a lot of chicken and rice for you for the next couple of weeks. That's what I imagine.
Rice.
Just the Walmart brand, store brand rice. That's what we're going to be cooking for a while. I understand. And I will say this, and I'm on record. That Rise of the Resistance at Star Wars, what's it, Hollywood? That's the best interactive ride I've ever been on in my life. It is insane. I didn't think, you're on that small spaceship at the beginning, and I'm like, this is it? What? Because I was like, no spoilers. I don't want to know. And I won't spoil it for anyone either, but I'm like, this is the ride? I waited hours for this? Oh, no. Oh, no. It keeps going. That thing, you are on the spacecraft. It's like you're on the Death Star and you're going around. It's incredible, Tim. I love it.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And like I said, we saw that the wait time, so we did one of the lightning lanes for that, so we could pretty much get on it right away. But then later in the day, and again, there was a heat advisory. I think it was like 96 and it felt like 104 out there. And you've got people from, Nowheresville, Missouri, who are turning pink under the sun of Florida. So we're a little bit more hardened to it. But we noticed that right at the heat of the day, there was maybe like a 45-minute wait. We actually got on in about 35 minutes. So for Disney, for Rise of the Resistance, that was incredible. So we were able to do it that second time. And Avatar, I think, is one other ride I'll give a shout out to. I love that Flight of Passage. What a cool ride that is, too.
Okay, I have multiple people, well, probably more than multiple people watching this, and the headliner says we're going to break down Ozzie, right? So they're thinking, why are they talking Ozzie? Why are they bringing up Star Wars at Disney World? I'm just going to say this. This is my final question, and then we will talk Ozzie because I know you have many opinions on this. Okay. When you went on the Millennium Falcon ride, this is what I ask everyone. Did you get to ride it? Were you driving, flying, or were you the engineer? What were you exactly? I need to know.
I was the gunner. And so, that's a 6-seat ride. So my wife, my daughter, and I, we went on and we wanted her to be the pilot. And obviously we were the front 3 in line. And then, they find 3 other people. Well, there were 2 parents with a kid. So I gave up my seat as pilot to another child who got to experience that. So my daughter went up and down. The young boy went right and left. And me and one of the other parents were gunners. And the 2 wives were in back doing engineering stuff.
It's the least I could do. Look, I got to be a pilot as well. And my buddy Gabe came into town with his family. And I asked him that same question, Tim. I was like, what were you? He's like, I had to be all the way in the back. I'm like, oh, you're pretty much the cargo. Okay, I got it. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, well, when they opened that ride, Mark, that was one of the media tours that I did many years ago when they opened the Millennium Falcon ride. I want to say that was about 2017 or 18. So they just bring you through with like a media tour guide. And it was just me and a young lady who were showing me all the different Star Wars things that they were working on. And so I got to sit in front. And I think that's the only time I've ever been a pilot, because you got to give it to the kids. If you're an adult and there's a kid in your 6-person car and you don't let them pilot it, you are a problem, my friend. And you need to, you need to get out and reassess your life, because this is really about the kids.
Yeah, it's like a Ric Flair type move in the wrestling ring. If you do that, yeah. Kind of like at a baseball game, if you catch a fly ball and there's a little kid, you should give. I don't know, though. It's once in a generation you get to catch that foul ball. Those rides are great, but let's get to Ozzie. Where were you on Tuesday when you found out that the Prince of Darkness had passed away?
Yeah, oh my goodness. Actually, my brother texted me earlier in the day. It just said Ozzie dead. And I was like, "What?" And, obviously you take to social media, you start seeing the headlines roll in. I grabbed a BBC story, put it on my Facebook timeline. I think I was one of the first people in my timeline that was, posting about Ozzie. I just so sad, Mark. I watched snippets of the show a couple of weeks ago in London where they essentially had his farewell, and you kind of knew that it was probably inevitable. You don't know that he's going to die 2 weeks later. But, we talk about Disney in Orlando. Well, probably the greatest thing I've ever seen in Orlando, Mark, and I posted about this on my Facebook page. Ozfest 1998 was a very, very special concert for me. It's one of those things that's always lived. In fact, a few weeks ago when Ozzy was getting ready for this, I was telling people out at the soccer fields my stories about, the other parents about Ozfest 98, a legendary show, Mark. So many of my favorite bands were in it. I got to see Motorhead that day in 1998 before anyone who knew System of a Down, who they were. But it was the last four bands, the way it led up to it, that really sticks out, Mark. So an up-and-coming band who had a big radio hit, Limp Bizkit, was the fourth to last act on the main stage. And there's this giant toilet bowl on stage, and the band starts playing, and they're jamming, and then Fred Durst rises out of the toilet bowl and just starts singing. It was one of the craziest things I had ever seen.
That's your fond memory.
Well, then after that, so Megadeth takes the stage next. And at the time, Megadeth, for me, one of my favorite all-time bands, Dave Mustaine, truly a founder of Metallica, who got kicked out. He was the rich kid with all the toys, but he was as annoying as hell as anybody. And so, he had to go his own way. But I love Megadeth. And they were third to last. And they played all of the songs that I love, Hangar 18 and, you name it. Rust in Peace and Tornado of Souls. Man, it was just such a great show. And then after them, Tool takes the stage. And oh my God, Tool lit it up. Maynard was out there completely shaven. He looked like powder. If you remember that movie, he was painted white from head to toe and wore a Speedo. It's just bizarre. I don't know, because Maynard was always a bit of a weirdo.
Time out. I've been in broadcast, TV, radio, whatever the hell this is now, streaming, podcasting. No one's ever made a reference to powder before on any show I've ever been on. It's so random. That movie's so terrible. It's such a 90s reference. Man, he looked like powder. And the fact that I understood the reference, I should get the Nobel Peace Prize. That was fantastic. Okay, so then Tool, who performed?
So then Tool had the crowd ready, and Ozzy came out. And, Zakk Wylde, he's on my Mount Rushmore of guitarists. If you go back and watch the No More Tears, the original MTV video, he's got the blonde hair swinging around. He has the guitar, the yellow with the hypnotic circles on it. I visited that guitar at the Hard Rock London when I went there in 2011. Someone told me that guitar was on display there from that video. I had to just see the guitar. On my 40th birthday, Mark, January 5th, 2017, my brother and my sister-in-law, who both play guitar, they've been involved in guitar for decades. They were at a fantasy guitar camp in California where Steve Vai was the headliner and Zakk Wylde was there. And my sister-in-law, God love her, I will always love you, Tanisha Walters, for doing this. She told Zakk Wylde it was my 40th birthday, and I still get choked up about this. He told me happy birthday on my 40th birthday, and she texted that to me. And I remember getting the text, and I just sat there and blubbered in my office at work. I couldn't believe Zakk Wylde had wished me a happy 40th. So anyhow, Ozzy's playing. They're playing all of my favorite songs. No More Tears is easily my favorite Ozzy song. I'll give you a top 10 here after we discuss this.
Look, this is a tornado. You've been holding this in for 48 straight hours. I'm happy you got to get this out. I just have a quick question here with Tim Walters. Are you one of those families where all the children, they're all with a T? Because what you just said, what's your sister's name? Tanisha? What'd you just say?
Tanisha, yes. That was my sister-in-law who my brother married. My brother is a Roger with an R.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was your real sister. Okay. Oh, no. So Timothy, Tanisha, all right. You know what? Keep going with Ozzy. Yeah. I got.
So this is where I punctuate the story, Mark, because 1998 wasn't exactly the time of search engines and Google News and such. So we had heard rumblings that in Europe, Black Sabbath had come out and played the encores with Ozzie. Well, this was one of his first North American shows here in Orlando. And so people are chanting for an encore after Ozzie goes out. And sure as bleep, Geezer Butler, Tony Iommi, they come out and they just start jamming, man. And I was in heaven. I was in ecstasy. It was just the coolest thing I had ever seen. And so for me, that show just means so much. And just all of those different things. As you can see, Ozzy Osbourne, he's touched so many people across the world. Been around basically since 1970 in the cultural zeitgeist of the entire planet. And there's so many people like me that probably have these stories where something came along that truly meant something in your heart and that 30 years later you hang on to. So, when I heard that, I was super sad. I had to dig out my old ticket, which I posted on Facebook from Ozfest. And and then in 2019, Mark, when he announced a tour, he was supposed to come to the BB&T Center down in South Florida where the Panthers play. Yeah. And I got tickets the day they went on sale. I got great tickets. Then we got a notice saying, well, the tour's been postponed. Here's the new date. And then several months later, we got, due to health concerns, Ozzy won't be able to complete the tour. So they refunded the money. But I would have much rather seen Ozzy one more time in 2019. Didn't get that pleasure, but I will always have that awesome show in 1998.
I imagine in that moment in 1998, you're at Ozfest in Orlando. They come out for the encore and you hear the Iron Man. You hear the first, it's like a name that tune. You hear the first 2 seconds. You know what it is. Do you wish you could just transport back to that moment in your life?
Oh my God, yeah. And in fact, the first song they actually played was War Pigs, which has a very, obviously it's another one of their anthems where you hear that guitar part just kick in, the song that it's going to be. But yeah, Mark, if I could transfer back in time, or, I've searched the internet. I was hoping maybe I'd find videos of it. I found set lists and things like that, and band lists, but yeah, unfortunately, that it will live in my mind, but I remember it so clearly. And my favorite, I won't give away my favorite Black Sabbath song, because not only do I have a top 10 for Ozzy, I have a top 5 for Black Sabbath, but they played my favorite Black Sabbath song, which is, one of their huge hits, but it might surprise some people who like other Black Sabbath songs better.
We're at Tim Walters, Florida today. Yes, very sad, the passing of a rock god and legend, OG, Mr. Ozzy Osbourne, at the age of 76. The last couple of days, I went down the rabbit hole where I went on YouTube and actually watched some of the original episodes of the Osbournes again. And it's funny, on YouTube, someone posted where it's all non-bleeps. So you're just hearing the F word. It was more shocking with the bleeps when you saw it on MTV originally. I watched that. I watched an interview with him on David Letterman from 1982, where Dave asked him about biting the head off a bat. It's really cool to see it. There's a great one you have to watch. So after September 11th, Conan O'Brien, in October, he does this bit where he comes on and he's like, look, our staff is still in shock and everyone's really sad. And I thought I'd try to cheer everyone up. So he brings Ozzy Osbourne to the offices, and Ozzy's walking around making everyone laugh and cheering them up. That's a great clip. But my number one thing for Ozzy, and I said this live on the air, and I'm going to say it to you right now. That Motley Crue book, The Dirt, I read that whole thing, the whole thing. And those guys, and this is what I think about in life. You really think you're an outlaw and you think you're a badass and yeah, I'm pretty hardcore. And there's always another SOB who's crazier than you. And I bring that up for the standpoint. Motley Crue thought they were insane. And then they went on tour with Ozzy Osbourne. And that's what I always think about. And there's always that famous part where they're at a hotel in Lakeland, Florida. And they are, and I know this is a family show, they think they're wild where they're licking up their own urine. And Ozzy shows up and licks up their urine, then says, I'll take it to the next level, and starts snorting up ants, all right? Lakeland, Florida, my friend, home of my aunt and uncle, and also that story with Ozzy Osbourne. Okay.
Yeah, I saw Nikki Sixx retelling that story this week. Ozzy gave Motley Crue their break, and I think more than the urine, I think it was the snorting ants that got that. I can't imagine. And you think to yourself, what would that feel like? Okay, I'm snorting ants. Are they dead once they get inside your head? Are they crawling around? Like, what's going on with these ants? Can we get a scientist on to tell us this, Mark?
Last night, I was at a transmitter site in Sebastian, Florida. Mike and I, my coworker, we open up the door. They're like gigantic ants. And I'm like, ugh, because that's your reaction. Like, ugh, get these ants out of here. Not the Oz man. Oh, no. I got to show you how great I mean, dude, the man who made Crazy Train. That's all. He could have just made Crazy Train and you'd put him straight into the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's amazing. All right. It was so crazy. My mother texted me right away. All right. Everyone knows who Ozzy Osbourne is. And because you're a Cubs fan, I just want to say this. One of the all-time great take me out to the ball games. Just the most insane 90 seconds. You have to watch it. All right. Start with your favorite Ozzy songs as the rankings. Let's go over that.
All right, I had to do a 10 on this because there's so many Ozzy songs I love. So we're going to first at number 10 go from the 1995 album Osmosis, Perry Mason. I love that song. Cool riff, cool chorus, all of that. So that is my number 10.
I love the album. I love the name of the album. What's number 9?
Number 9. Now, this is kind of one of those ones that wasn't widely released, but it is a great song. So if you go back and listen to it, look this one up later. It's off of the 1991 No More Tears album, my favorite Ozzy album. It's called Sin, S-I-N. It's like with periods in between it. It stands for something, but just a really cool song. It's got a nice, a nice melody, good guitar part. And I just think that that's a really underrated song that Ozzy did. So I have that at number 9.
Look, dude, you're just, whatever you say is going to be great. Like, everyone loves these different songs. What's next on the list?
All right, number 8, I have, again, from the 95 Osmosis album, See You on the Other Side, which I think a lot of people are saying that about Ozzy this week. My friend, we will see you on the other side.
What's next?
We've got Crazy Train, which a lot of people might think number 7 is way too low, but I have good reasoning behind all the songs above it. That was off the 1981 Blizzard of Oz album, which is probably my second favorite Ozzy album, maybe third. It's a top 3. God, he's got so many good albums.
An intro to a song, I think that or Welcome to the Jungle might be the greatest of all time. Just the first 5 seconds, you're okay. Let's go. You're in automatically. Yeah, you're crazy. That's better than 7. You're out of your mind. All right. What's number 6 then? What do you got?
Number 6. This is a great song off the No More Tears album as well. It was also the soundtrack song for Hellraiser 3. The name of the song is Hellraiser, but Ozzy wrote it, recorded it, then gave it to Lemmy and Motorhead. Motorhead recorded their version, and that's the one that was used in Hellraiser 3. But both versions, I love that song, Hellraiser.
I've seen Hellraiser 3. Hell, I've seen every single Hellraiser movie ever made. I have. There's a part in that where the TV cameraman, he gets murdered, and then he turns into a demon, what are they called? A Cinnabite or I don't know, whatever it is. And he has a camera in his head, right? And he's like a demon, and he's like, "Are you ready for your close-up?" I always tell that joke to my buddy Jason. Now that's more random than your powder reference from earlier. Okay, what's next on the list, buddy?
Yeah, getting Powder and Hellraiser 3 on your show. Look at that. Yeah. All right, now we're into the top 5, and you'll see why some of these I personally put above Crazy Train. Shot in the Dark off the Ultimate Sin album, 1986. That was right after Randy Rhoads had passed. Jakey Lee was the guitarist. And that was the first hit after that. I love the song. I love the video. It's a wonderful song. So I have Shot in the Dark at number 5.
What's number 4 then?
Number 4, I go with Mr. Crowley off the Blizzard of Oz album, 1981. Again, another great song. I was on vacation many years ago, 2012 in Europe, and we were doing the tour around Loch Ness. and that's actually around the area where Aleister Crowley lived and did a lot of his killing. And I told the tour guide that Ozzie's song Mr. Crowley was written about that, and he had this great Scottish accent and told me he had never heard that, but was going to start incorporating that when he tells the info about about Aleister Crowley. So there you go. At number 4, Mr. Crowley.
What is number 3, Tim Walters?
Number 3, a song a lot of people have been singing this week, because obviously he's coming home. Mama, I'm Coming Home off No More Tears, 1991. Love that song. Always, kind of brings out the emotion in you. But just what a beautiful song, a great song by Ozzie.
It's a great song, and I think that is the final song he performed at that concert. Dude, it's so weird. So we were on the air heading into 4th of July holiday weekend. We're doing this like corporate contest. Hey, you can win a ticket to watch the stream online. And we were hammering it for 2 straight weeks. Final concert, Black Sabbath there in Birmingham. Ozzie's going to be there. And I was watching some of it, and that's why it's so shocking. He just performed. And this is the highest praise I'll give him. He could not stand. He was in a chair singing, and he was still more badass than 99% of the bands I see now. Like that's how crazy that is. Are we on 2? What's 2?
Yeah, he sounded better than Axl Rose did. If you heard Guns N' Roses' performance, oh my goodness.
My cat sounds better.
At least Axl lost about 100 pounds. But let's get back to the list. Number 2, Bark at the Moon off the 1983 Bark at the Moon album. For those who remember Headbangers Ball, when the Halloween Headbangers Ball came out, that seemed like that was the first song they would play every year. Ozzie dressed like the werewolf. Bark at the Moon. That is my number 2 song by Ozzy Osbourne.
Every year on 95.9 The Rocket for Halloween Day, I do the takeover of Halloween songs, and I always do Bark at the Moon. And there's so many you could do, Werewolves of London, like I do. Yeah, Bark at the Moon is pretty badass. And the thing with Ozzy, I know we keep throwing him roses as he deserves it this week. It's like other musicians try to be a badass, or they're like, what it is? It's kind of like Marilyn Manson, where it's like, ooh, I'm real spooky, right? No, this guy was actually crazy. Okay. He really did bite the head off a bat. Like, he is wild. But then at the same time, he's like a nice family guy, and he's nice to everyone. And, he really cares. And what's number 1? What do you got?
All right. And before I get to number 1, next time you're doing a Halloween show, an obscure song, heavy metal song to play that is a great Halloween song by a band called Grim Reaper, Rock You to Hell. Great song.
And I think I need to play some Slayer as well for Halloween. I know that's a little, I know I play it, we play a wide range of classic rock. We don't really play any Slayer. I don't know of many radio stations, but I'm going to make it happen. In honor of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I will play Slayer on Halloween.
Play Seasons in the Abyss. That song itself is great. I love that song.
You're the best. I need to go to a rock show with you. How have we not done this yet? How not? What's number 1?
Number 1, and I mentioned it earlier, No More Tears, 1991. The song, the album, everything. I love that song, Mark. And I like the extended version. MTV, they once had a video where they played the whole thing. It's like 6 minutes long, and then they used to kind of cut out the middle bit. But, the whole song, it's a work of art. Ozzie is awesome. As I mentioned, the guitarist, Zakk Wylde, is just off the chain. The guitar solo in that song is, I would put that in a top 10 guitar solos ever. He is just fantastic. Look that song up, listen to it. That is my number 1, hands down.
What about the bass on that song? I think it's pretty legendary as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's me, by the way, doing sound effects on the air, right? We have no budget to play music anymore, so that's what we're going to have to do. All right. That's an epic top 10, but it continues in honor of Oz. All right. What are your top 5 Sabbath songs?
All right, Sabbath. And I have one outside looking in, because after I made my top 5, I realized it wasn't on my list. You're going to be amazed at this, Mark. So this would be number 6, or outside looking in, Iron Man off of Paranoid, 1971.
Okay, what's your top 5 then?
All right, number 5, NIB, Nativity in Black, off the Black Sabbath album, 1970. It's on their original album, NIB. I love that song, Mark. It's been covered by so many great bands. Megadeth has a great cover of it. You name it, any great band has covered NIB.
What's number 4?
And I actually have an album called Nativity in Black, where it's all covers of Black Sabbath songs by famous heavy metal bands. So look up that album. It's probably about 30 years old now, but it's actually called Nativity in Black.
What's number 4 again?
Number 4 off the Master of Reality, 1971, their third album. Actually, I think it was their second album. They released 2 in 1971, so it's easy to get them confused. But Sweet Leaf, I love that. I love you, Sweet Leaf. And I think we all know what they were singing about back then.
What is number 3 with Tim Walters? The top 5 Black Sabbath songs. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, that's all right. Off the 1971 also, but a different 71 album, Paranoid, which is a great song too. But off that album, War Pigs. Everybody knows War Pigs. Again, covered by so many bands. Just a great song.
Now I'm intrigued to see what your top 2 songs are now. What do you got, buddy?
Number 2, Symptoms of the Universe, off the Sabotage album, 1975. I love Symptoms of the Universe, and if you want to hear a great cover of that, look up Sepultura's version of it. Great song, Symptoms of the Universe.
All right. I'm going to do this. What's number 1, Tim Walters?
Number 1, and this is off the Master of Reality 1971 album, the haunting tapping drums where it almost sounds like they're using a bucket. Children of the Grave. Oh my God, what a great heavy metal song. I love that song. My favorite Black Sabbath song. Whenever I hear it come on Ozzie's Boneyard on Sirius XM, I crank it up. Children of the Grave. I love that song, Mark.
That is his top 15 pretty much, where top 5 Sabbath and then top 10 Ozzie songs. It was very sad. It was, but he'll never leave us. I mean, we're going to play these songs forever. You know, that's how I look at it. And he lived, you know what it is? It's like he lived a long life for a man that lived that way. I'm amazed he was alive. When you like we always joke, I'm amazed Ric Flair is still alive. It's like, why? And by the way, that's the second Ric Flair reference today by me, none by Tim Walters so far. Again, don't you feel the same way? I'm amazed he lasted this long.
Yeah, I mean, 76 years old. Kind of weird to think he was born the same year as my mother, who recently turned 76. But, you know, what a great life. You know, I remember in the 80s, he was satanic and you shouldn't listen to that music and you're going to worship the devil. And it's like, I thought it was poppycock when I was 10 years old, and I still do.
Poppycock, huh? All right.
And, you know, Mark, aside from maybe The Real World, Ozzie might have been the second reality TV show, and I think he was probably the first reality TV dad, right? Because then Hulk Hogan got a show soon after and other things, but I think Ozzie really started it all.
Yeah, for like a celebrity reality show, that is the original. It really is. And then you had the stupid like Jessica Simpson one, and you're right, the Hogan, like we had kind of, when I think of the first reality show, I think of like The Real World on MTV in the 90s. And it's funny, MTV made the Osbournes. And dude, you got to go on YouTube, go watch the first episode again. Here's how dated it is. He appears on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. He goes on there. He does a meet and greet with fans at Tower Records. Tower Records. Then he goes on Loveline with Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew, a show I used to listen to in high school in the 90s. You're like, what planet is this from? And it's from 2002. So have you been listening to Ozzie and Sabbath music the last couple of days?
Oh, yeah, you better believe it. Yes, I've listened to a lot. You know, obviously, in a moment of privacy, might have shed a tear. You know, it's hard when I'm nearing 50 years old now. I'm 48 years old. And you're starting to see your heroes, the legends, people like that passing on. And, you know, Mark, just one other to mention, I know this is kind of outside of Ozzie, but, you know, there were, aside from Ozzie, when I was a kid, one of my greatest heroes, and you're probably familiar with him too, is Ryne Sandberg, Chicago Cubs second baseman. And he recently announced that his cancer is back and kind of aggressive. So I think, you know, when you see the people you grew up just absolutely idolizing, loving, and you're getting to this point in life, boy, that is tough. But so you put on Mom, I'm Coming Home, you raise your fist to the sky, and then you move on and kick some butt. And that's what I'm doing.
Okay. And I saw that about Rhino as well. It's very, very sad. I know that's your favorite player of all time. And I think Kerry Wood threw out the first pitch recently, and he was wearing a Sandberg jersey, which I thought was pretty cool. Okay, I have been here when I think of my career, I've been here since 2013, but even before that, I remember being in radio when Michael Jackson died, and that was shocking. When Prince died, that was shocking. Um, I was here in the office when Tom Petty passed away. I mean, such a rock legend, especially in the state of Florida, but all around the world. We had to do that coverage. I remember when Eddie Van Halen died. Man, that was sad. That really was. And this one as well. And this is very, and I mean this. The world stopped on Tuesday for Ozzie. God forbid, when you think of these super legends that are still alive, and I think of like Paul McCartney, or you'd say Ringo Starr, or, we just saw the Rolling Stones last year. If something happened to Mick Jagger, everything would, and I never want it to happen. I don't. If that, God forbid, that happened, every music format in the country, every TV channel, I think everything would just stop. I don't care.
I think Paul McCartney, especially. Unfortunately for Ringo, he's always played second fiddle, maybe even third for the Beatles, but he's also had his own fair share of some things you might call controversies. Paul McCartney is just universally beloved. And obviously, I think Ringo would be a big deal, but I think Paul McCartney will be that big. I think Mick Jagger will certainly be that big. And when you think in the U.S., who might be some of those, I got a funny Michael Jackson story for you, if I could tell that real quick, Mark. When he passed on, I was in Las Vegas with my wife and her brother, who had just gotten back from a deployment in Afghanistan. We were at lunch at the, what's it called? The Rainforest Cafe. And we saw it up on the TVs. And then after we finished lunch, we were walking back to our hotel and we passed the Madame Tussauds Museum, and they had rolled out the wax figure of Michael Jackson. So we waited in line, and I have a picture of my brother-in-law and I holding Michael Jackson's hand on the day he died. So just totally random, but there you go.
Okay. You look at country music, like Willie Nelson, who is Mount Rushmore for country music. He's in his 90s, and that guy is still going, right? Like, I think of him and William Shatner. Those guys are in their 90s, and they're still awesome. That's enough. I think for country and an American musician, Willie Nelson's another one where it's like, he's so famous. It's like beyond. I remember being in Nashville, and every souvenir shop had stuff for Willie Nelson. It just didn't even matter. Willie was everywhere. So I feel bad having this conversation. I don't want it to happen, but I just think of that. And I'll say one more point to you. I've noticed over the last couple of days, people our age and older, we bring up, and you started with this conversation. When you thought of Ozzie, you're like, man, I was at Ozfest in Orlando, and I noticed there used to be this connection to your local community where you're like, I was at this venue and I saw this band, or I saw this, and you hear people up north, I was at the Nassau Coliseum, I was at Madison Square Garden, or, Eric, my coworker, he goes like, I was at the old Orlando Arena and I saw this. And for me, it's like, okay, I was at the Metro cross street from Wrigley Field. I was at the Aragon Ballroom. I was at the Rosemont Horizon. And my buddy Alan, he's like, I was there at the old stadium in DC. There used to be this connection that we used to have in music. I don't think we have that anymore. Now it's like, hey, you want to see your band? Well, they're going to be at the Mid-Credit Florida Union, and and you have to download this QR code. I don't feel that connection anymore. Do you feel that way?
No, and obviously, especially people of our age, we used to wait outside of Ticketmaster in long lines to get tickets for concerts, and you'd meet some of the other fans around you and things like that. That's kind of lost. Now it's like, oh, I'm in a ticket lottery, and I may get tickets or I may not, and it's like, I don't know. Part of that community, you're right, is definitely lost. And, stadium bands. Right now, the only people filling stadiums are the people who are in their 60s and 70s, nostalgia acts, because no one really, who's going to go see the latest, when these big bands were big, they were in their early 20s, right? Motley Crue, early 20s. Nowadays, are you going to go see the latest craze on TikTok at an arena in Orlando? No, it's just not something that's there anymore, I think.
I like going to small venues to see bands. I agree. They shouldn't be at Camping World Stadium with 60,000 people, but I want to see newer music. I do. And look, now I sound like an old man. I really do. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting moving forward how this works. And I like where you posted about your ticket. Oh, I have my ticket from Ozzie. Now there are no tickets. Now it's a barcode that changes every 3 seconds. So that's what it is. Are we out of time, or can we talk football?
No, we can keep talking. Mark, I shouldn't say I got all day for you, because I do have real work to do, other job work to do. I don't want to say real work. This is real work. I could talk to you all day, Mark, but we got plenty of time if you want to talk about high school football, NFL. We've got, shall I start with the Jaguars?
Okay, all right, here's what we'll do, since we are going long, right? And we can continue this conversation next week. We'll just do this real quick. All right, so you have NFL training camp that started this week, and I know you're going to do a great job with Jaguar coverage. And I did forget that Travis Hunter's on the Jaguars. I forgot they drafted him, right? Tell us about how training camp has started, high school and college. I'll let you take the floor then. Go for it.
So I'll just kind of throw them all in, and I'll blowtorch you with info and get you out of here. So first and foremost, the Jacksonville Jaguars, their rookies reported on the 19th, which was over the weekend, and then their veterans reported on the 22nd. They held their first practice in front of the media yesterday, so I had a team of people who were out there. Go to jacksonville.com for the Florida Times Union, of which I am the sports editor, and we have all the info, Mark. So our main reporter, Demetrius Harvey, he kind of did the training camp overview and did the interviews afterward. One of our secondary guys, Gary Smits, he did two things. Number one, he does kind of the blow-by-blow, play-by-play, everything, all the observations. He also does a second story called the Travis Tracker, which we'll be doing all throughout camp, looking at what Travis Hunter is doing on both sides of the ball, which yesterday he mainly played receiver. He had the catch of camp yesterday. It was an amazing acrobatic catch he made from a throw by Trevor Lawrence. And then he only got a couple of plays out there with defense. I think they're going to concentrate mainly on offense early, start getting him over on the defensive side of the ball. And then we also look at Trevor Lawrence, because, his season ended with non-throwing shoulder surgery. He also had a concussion. He's coming back from that. He looked pretty sharp yesterday. Obviously, they're just in shorts and pads, but it's at least good to see your franchise quarterback, your $250 million man out there. It's great to see your young number 2 overall pick playing well, and you've got your new regime in place with Liam Cohn, James Gladstone, and Tony Baselli, the executive vice president. So again, jacksonville.com is where you can check out all of that. We got great stuff on the Jaguars there. As far as high school football, I'm sorry, Mark, go ahead.
No, I thought you might need a second to breathe, so I thought I'd chime in for a second. No, dude, go for it for high school football.
All right, high school football here in Brevard County, of course, Monday starts practices for our teams. I only know of a couple of teams that are practicing in the morning. I believe Melbourne is one of them. A lot of them will do the afternoons. If you remember back in the day, old school, on the 28th at 12:01 a.m., teams would get out there right after midnight. I don't know if any doing that here in Brevard, at least. I've heard about other places around the state, but that is when teams can report. A lot different this year, Mark. We have 5 head coaching changes since last year. And if you want to read all about those this Sunday in Florida Today and at floridatoday.com are who's coaching where. We'll get live to outline the 11 coaches that have stayed, the 5 new coaches, who they are, where they've been. We have all that info. I wrote it myself. Lots of research goes into that. So please check out floridatoday.com for that. And again, we have 16 varsity programs here in Brevard County. Some of them have moved out of the FHSAA. So last year, Bayside and Space Coast did. They moved into what's called the SSAA, and they won a state title for that group. And now this year, I believe Holy Trinity and Satellite are both moving over to that. And so the SSAA, for those who don't know, it's kind of more of a football conference for teams who just can't compete with the Cocos and O'Galleys, who their players transfer over to the bigger schools. So this is more for a competitive equality, because over the years, Space Coast 2 years ago went 0-10. They just can't keep up when their best players are leaving and going to other schools in this day of NIL transfer portals, paying players. So, it's interesting to see some of our smaller schools. Again, Holy Trinity, Satellite. Last year it was Bayside. Space Coast won a state title. So that conference is growing for those teams, and, good for them for giving that a try. And again, that's Monday. We're going to start having stories, photo galleries, videos from all of these different camps. We'll visit all 16 of them. And then I'm looking over at my calendar here leading up to the Jamborees on August 15th and week 1, August 22nd. Going to be here before you know it, Mark. So there is high school, there is the NFL, and of course, for colleges, Gainesville.com for the Gainesville Sun, Tallahassee.com for the Tallahassee Democrat. We're covering the Gators and Seminoles like no one else. And for UCF News, a lot of people don't know, we have a reporter for them now at the Daytona Beach News Journal. He covered, Chris Boyle covers all of the UCF news, and then as news-journalonline.com. So, Mark, we got it all here with the USA Today family of papers. And, of course, I'm giving you the best here in Brevard and up in Jacksonville, where I run both news sites.
That was awesome. You're better than Chat GPT. All right. That was amazing. You are, by the way, you see him on camera. He's not looking at anything. You're just talking. You're the man. Yeah, it's 9,000 degrees. I give credit to all these athletes out there who are going to practice in the pads moving forward. It is not easy. UCF emailed me, Coach Frost, and that's another one like, oh, yeah, that's right. He's the coach again. He's going to talk on Sunday. They're going to start practice on Monday. You're right, Gators, Noles, Miami Hurricanes. I'm taking one more trip in August, and then we're going hardcore to the Super Bowl. That's the game plan. That's what it's going to be. Tim Walters, no more tears for this man. He is going to have a great Thursday. Thank you so much for coming on. Have a great day, buddy.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. And for Ozzie, we'll see you on the other side.